Another day, another Last Dance documentary episode being released. Finally, this is episode 5 review. What's going to happen in this episode, man? We got to see some of the greatest people in this interview give their feedback on their situations, man, and it was an honor to watch. So, without further ado, let's get to it. What's up, everybody? It's the Sports Code aka Aiden, and welcome back to another video. This is part 5 or episode 5 of the Last Dance documentary by Michael Jordan. So before we get started, this must be said, please like and subscribe to the Sports Code YouTube channel. Help us get to 40 subscribers. It will mean a lot to me. Turn notifications on as well if you want to see more out of me. We obviously got episode 6 coming on later, hopefully today, and we'll see where that goes in the future, man. So without further ado, let's get this show started. Now, usually with these episodes, I have stuff written down, but unfortunately, everything I wrote down got deleted. So I'm just gonna go off the brain here. Just watch the episode, so there's still fresh in my mind a lot of the things that happened. So, obviously the start was very, very memorable for many people. Obviously, the late great Kobe Bryant, the All-Star game, Madison Square Garden. How the young Rook was basically trying to get pointers from Michael Jordan, and Michael Jordan didn't really have that respect there, but was also very intrigued by Kobe Bryant and how they had a big brother relationship. And he obviously said this not too long ago, and the same things have been said throughout, man. Kobe Bryant was like a little brother to Michael Jordan, and that All-Star game was the big showing of Kobe. And then obviously Kobe actually having an interview in this documentary, it almost tore me up, man, because I haven't really heard much of his voice since the passing. I didn't really, every time I did, I'll just turn it off. I didn't want to hear it. It would get emotional sometimes, but in this, it reminds me the most, and that people shouldn't compare the two. And even he said this, and this is what made it so impactful to me. He said, "Oh, some fans walked up to Kobe, and he said to Kobe, you could be MJ 101." And he's like, I don't want to compare Michael Jordan to Kobe. If it wasn't for Michael Jordan, there would be no Kobe. There'd be no 5 championships without Michael Jordan. And that meant a lot to me. And it goes without saying now that I think in this day in the NBA, we need to look at the athletes that we have now and today, and we have to stop hating on every single one of them. We need to stop, I wouldn't say comparing. It's in my opinion, it's always good to compare with each other, but you shouldn't hate someone because you like someone else better. So I shouldn't be saying that I hate LeBron James because MJ's the GOAT. I shouldn't be doing that. That just shouldn't happen. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's why comparisons for me are fine. But you have to be very, very aware of what you're saying, and you can't be. You need to stop ridiculing one person because you like another one better. Yes, I think MJ's the GOAT. Of course, I think MJ's the GOAT. I'm a Bulls fan. I know my history. I love Michael Jordan. I love the Bulls. But I can't go out here and say that I hate LeBron because I like Michael Jordan. That's not true. I love LeBron James. I like what LeBron James stands for. I think he's a model citizen on and off the court. He's the pinnacle of how to be a professional in today's day, and that's just how it is. And Kobe was the same, man. And you just can't. You can compare them, but you can't ridicule or hate or discriminate or separate each other from greatness. All of them are great, and that's what kind of got me the most. And that's why for a long period of time I was that dude that was comparing people. Oh, I didn't like LeBron James. D Wade was better. All of this. When I was a kid, that's what I used to be like. But now you have a newfound respect for everybody within the NBA. And that's all that really needs to be said on the matter, man. Just whether you like them or not, just please respect the athletes you have. Respect the LeBron James, respect the Kevin Durant's, respect the Stephen Curry's. Yes, they might not be your favorites, you might not like the team, but there's no reason to hate a player for being great. There's just no reason. Appreciate their greatness. Yes, it might not be for the team that you like or the team that you go for, but still they're great and they deserve the respect. And just stop comparing people. And that was a good message from Kobe Bryant, and that was a very good way to start it off. Obviously, it went down to his shoes, how he wore his first ever Air Jordans to the Madison Square Garden Arena, which was his favorite arena to play in, which is well known back then. Obviously his favorite arena, and they were talking about pretty much the process of how Nike was able to sign Michael Jordan. Obviously, back then Reebok was the main shoe of the NBA. Reebok was the one that took over the NBA. All the athletes had Reebok, but Reebok rejected Michael Jordan really because he wasn't up to those levels at the time, because he was just a rookie. So he went elsewhere. He loved Adidas, but Adidas was just such a wreck. And I wish, because I love Adidas as well, so I wish that Adidas was able to get a deal done with Michael Jordan. Things might have changed very, very significantly for them. And I'm sure they missed out and rue the day that they couldn't get Michael Jordan to sign with them, even though Michael Jordan was willing. And Nike, who at the time was pretty much a bang average, if not relatively new, poor starter company, signed Michael Jordan to this incredible deal. And since then, their stock kicked right up, and because Michael Jordan was that guy, Nike became one of the best shoe companies in the world, and they still are today. And I love Nike as well, but I'm an Adidas guy, man. I really believe I am. Of course, I'm wearing Nike now, but I am an Adidas guy. So at the end of the day, Nike became very, very successful because of how they treated Michael Jordan. They gave him his own shoe. They trusted in a rookie to shine, and the Air Jordans began. And that's the whole reason behind his shoe, was that story and how the shoe market really operated back then. It was so different compared to it is now, and it shows later on in the episode as well, with which is very good storytelling, but we'll see. We'll get to that later. So obviously from then it went back to the 92 season. If I forget anything, I'm sorry. I'm just going off the cuff here from things I remember. So it went back to the 92 season, and they were talking about how they have to do the double. I think Phil Jackson said, if you're only as great as you are right now, so you have to go and do it again. You have to go and win that championship again. And Michael Jordan was on top of the world, man. He was on top of the world. He was dominating, showing his legacy, winning another MVP and all of this, finals MVP. And then it got mentioned about Clyde Drexler, which was the NBA finals opponent for MJ and the Bulls at the time, the 1992 finals. And they were saying pretty much that Michael Jordan said Clyde Drexler was a threat. There's no doubt that he was a threat. But people that were comparing Clyde Drexler to me, I took offense to that. That's what Michael Jordan said. He got offended that Clyde Drexler was even in the same breath as Michael Jordan. And he went and spent that entire series to go and prove otherwise. That Clyde Drexler was not on the same level as Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan was clear and stand out the best. And to be honest, again, this is one of those things where, yeah, Clyde Drexler's not on MJ's level, and he wasn't going to be. But people don't give Clyde Drexler enough respect in this world. I asked a question to one of my friends saying, who was better, Andre Drummond or Clyde Drexler? And he answered Andre Drummond, man. And I'm not saying, again, each to their own. I think it's pretty disrespectful, but at the end of the day, I don't want to compare the two, like what Kobe said before, so I'm not even going to mention what I think about it. But people do not give Clyde Drexler respect, because it's just, he's one of the best shooting guards to ever play, man. He truly was. He was athletically gifted. He could shoot the ball. He made some very good hustle plays, and he brought Portland. He's arguably Portland's second, if not first, best player that they've ever had. And that's all I'm saying on the matter. And I think Clyde Drexler doesn't get enough respect. So that's just me putting it on the record. I think Clyde Drexler is one hell of a player. I think he was back then. And I still think to this day, if he was playing in today's NBA, he would be one of the best players here. That's just that's what I think. Anyway, we'll move on from that. And obviously, the Bulls beat Portland 4-2, and they became the 1992 champions, to which they were unstoppable, basically. MJ was on top of the world. He was clearly the best. And they moved forward to the Olympics. This is where things get really interesting, these Olympics. And we start off with the game, the practices, I would say, first, before anything. The iconic practices. So obviously this is the 92 Dream Team that we're talking about. The iconic 92 Dream Team, arguably the best team ever assembled in Olympic history. Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic Johnson. You've got all the greats back then playing on this team. And there was an iconic training session that I'm sure most people that know NBA would know about, where Magic Johnson was going one-on-one, his team versus Michael Jordan's team, and Magic Johnson's team was up by 8, and Magic Johnson, not willing to let his reign go as the best player in the world, was trash talking MJ, man. And then they were up by 8, and Magic saying that if you don't turn into Air Jordan, we're gonna smoke you guys. And MJ, being that person that he is, that winner's mentality, that drive to be the best, he ended up smoking that team, man. He ended up destroying Magic Johnson, and his team ended up winning the game. It was only a practice game. This didn't mean much towards anything really, but there was so much meaning behind a training game, a practice game, and that's why practice is so important sometimes, because that's what makes you the best. Hard work and practice. And that practice proved to not only Magic Johnson, but to pretty much everybody there, that Michael Jordan was the new king in town, man. He was the alpha dog. He was the leader. He was the guy. He was the best. And they've entered into a new reign of the NBA. And that all happened through one training session, and which Magic Johnson complained and complained during the game about ref calls and all of this. That's just mentality, man. That's just winners' competitiveness, and they're gonna go after everything they can to win the game. So sometimes you do argue about foul calls. That is what it is, man. Everybody does it. So it ended up, that was a very iconic moment, and it's just, to me, that's what really stands out about Michael Jordan being the best in the world. When you have Magic Johnson at the time not willing to give up his mantle as being the best in the world, and Michael Jordan just coming in and snatching it from him, saying, you don't want to give it to me, but I'm going to take it anyway, and there's nothing you can do about it, sort of mentality. That was insane, man. I've heard this story a lot, and that's what kind of drove me towards loving Michael Jordan. That story is one of my favorites of all time. So I really appreciated that this was being put in the documentary. I'm surprised why it wouldn't be, but I'm happy that it was there. And obviously, it moved on into the games, and they targeted Croatia. The reason why they targeted Croatia was because of Tony Kukoc, who was a great Bulls player, but at the time he was playing in the European leagues, and the general manager Jerry Krause was scouting him, saying that he's going to be the future of the NBA, he's going to be the future of the Chicago Bulls, and we're going to build the team around him, all of this. Now, while Kukoc was playing in the European League, I think he was drafted by Chicago, but he was playing in the European leagues while he was playing for Chicago, really. Jerry Krause was scouting him in the Euro League, not really paying attention to the Chicago Bulls, in which people back in Chicago felt offended by that, felt triggered by that. They wanted to be recognized by the general manager. Scottie Pippen wanted more money. These things needed to happen in order for them to be a successful franchise, in order for them to be happy with where they are. And Jerry Krause was over in Europe paying attention to one player. That struck a nerve with Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. So in the first game, they targeted Tony Kukoc. I believe that they said, let me and Scottie hand to Tony Kukoc. He's with us. And that game, Tony Kukoc only scored 4 points. Scottie Pippen dominated him, and they sent a message to Jerry Krause saying, if there's anybody you should be worrying about, there's anybody that you should be putting all of your attention into, it's the Chicago Bulls, it's Scottie Pippen, it's Michael Jordan. You shouldn't be out here scouting the people in the European leagues when you should be focusing on the Chicago Bulls. And Tony Kukoc went on an interview pretty much saying he doesn't know why they were targeting him, because at the time he thought everything was okay. He didn't know there was a big issue with the Bulls organization and him, and how he wasn't there, and how all the attention was on him. He didn't know anything about that. But again, we always give slack about European players saying how they're soft. But this brought a new element of something I didn't even think about, of how tough these European players are. Obviously, war-bound countries, especially Croatia at the time, where these people were built hard as nails, man. They had a strong mentality. They were built and designed for pretty much war. So Tony Kukoc didn't, when everybody was calling him soft, Tony Kukoc, he didn't really affect him, man, because he knew himself. He knew who he was. He knew he wasn't a soft player. And that kind of triggered Scotty and MJ into getting his respect and giving the respect as well. And that's why they became decent players in the end. But obviously, the second game, Kukoc bounced back, had a really good game. Croatia had a very good game. But unfortunately, I think that was the final. Michael Jordan and the USA Dream Team of '92 beat Croatia comfortably, but Tony Kukoc came back and had a decent game, and they won the gold medal, man. Of course, who would not expect the USA to win the gold medal? They didn't really go through anybody else in the competition. It just went to those two teams. And this is where things get interesting. So I mentioned before about the Nike situation and the Reebok situation, how Reebok didn't sign them. Well, it turns out that because of that, Michael Jordan didn't want to show the Reebok sign in the gold medal presentation. When you get the gold medals, Michael Jordan didn't want to show that Reebok sign, because obviously there was a grudge there from years and years back. And obviously, being a competitive person he is, he wanted Nike to be the best it could possibly be. And therefore, not showing the Reebok sign would mean that he's sticking with Nike, man. He doesn't want anything to do with Reebok. And the way that he did it was crazy. And usually people get very triggered when you do something like that today. Like, if there's been athletes that are sponsored by Adidas but wear the Nike jerseys because they have to. It's just the way it is. They have no real reason to not do it. They have to do it. But back then, Michael Jordan, even though he was wearing, of course, he was wearing the Champions gear, he didn't have any sort of respect for Reebok whatsoever. So during the presentation, when everybody's wearing their jackets and waving to the crowd, getting their gold medals, Michael Jordan covered his Reebok sign with the national flag, indicating that of course, that no one's going to target him for that. He's wearing the national flag. He's wearing the USA flag. There's no one that's going to go after him for that. Even Reebok wouldn't dare do that. So in the end, they ended up being a really big issue there. But of course, no one really paid attention to it. It went on to Michael Jordan becoming a global phenomenon since then. Basically, all these advertisements like "Be like Mike," "Be like him." If you want to be Michael Jordan, you have to get these shoes, you have to get these uniforms, this platform, everything. So it ended up being in that situation where there was a political stand in which Michael Jordan, and I forget the name of the politicians, I'm sorry, I don't know much about American history, I'm not from America, but there's this guy who was from North Carolina, and he was representing not the Democrats, the other ones, I'm sorry, and they wanted Michael Jordan's help to help this guy, I think it was Harvey Grant, get over the line. And Michael Jordan basically said Democrats wear Nikes too, or buy shoes too, basically saying that he's not supporting political views, because at the end of the day, he's not a politician. He doesn't know much about politics. And this is something that today I can agree with Michael Jordan. Now, you can't expect every single celebrity to know about politics. You can't expect every single person to blindly support someone when they don't know much about them. And I think it was wrong for people to just assume, because this guy is the same race as Michael Jordan from North Carolina, that race is obviously a big issue back then, that Michael Jordan should just support him blindly. And people that would think that would obviously need to realize and understand that life is not, it's not about that, man. You have, like, you can't expect everybody to have political views, political opinions. Half of the world couldn't care less about politics, couldn't have one insight about politics. So with Michael Jordan and all of them, it's the same that goes here. So yeah, at the end of the day, it's just about him obviously having his political views. So really bad credit for that, really bad views on that and opinions presented to him because he didn't support a fellow person that that was seen as like him. So I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. I don't want to say, because again, I don't know much about the situation, but this is all based on this documentary. And people really viewed Michael Jordan badly based on that. And Michael Jordan came out and he said, I'm not going to choose to represent someone blindly if I don't know much about them. And that's the way to go, man. And maybe the comment that he said, that Democrats wear Nikes too, maybe you could take that out of context. That looks like he's the biggest prick ever, because he couldn't care less as long as it's his financial duty for himself to make more money or whatever and all of this. But in the end, he's right. I can't go and speak on the Australian Prime Minister and the political parties involved in that when I don't know anything about it. It's just as simple as that. If I don't know the information that I have, I can't go out and speak negatively about them, because in the end, I don't know the full details of the situation. And it was the same with Michael Jordan, so I completely agree with him with that. So hopefully that can clear things up in terms of that. Obviously, it didn't affect Michael Jordan in the long run. There was some guy that was saying that Michael Jordan would be forgotten and Muhammad Ali will live on forever because he stood up to the situation. Well, clearly Muhammad Ali had an opinion, a political opinion. Clearly Muhammad Ali had a situation where he had the information and he knew what to do with it, where Michael Jordan didn't have that information. So what is he supposed to do with it? I think, to me, that just means everything to me. So that whole situation ended up being resolved, and they ended up moving back into the 1998 seasons, close to the playoffs. And Michael Jordan obviously was retiring since Phil Jackson wasn't coming in. So everybody wanted to see Michael Jordan have his one last hurrah, and all these tickets issues were being presented, and even at Atlanta, that arena, usually you don't think of a football stadium like that arena to play a basketball game. And but damn, man, like 66,000 people in Atlanta wanting to see Michael Jordan play his last game at that arena. That's something special, man, and it's only some of the greats can do that. And Kobe Bryant was one of them, and all these people, when they know it's their last season, they want to see them play one last time. And it's going to happen to LeBron, it's going to happen to Kevin Durant, probably all these players when they leave. It's going to happen to them, these great players. So that's something to look forward to and to respect then, and that's kind of where it started, really. So hopefully, and obviously that's where the episode ended. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the review. What did I think about this episode? To be honest, this episode to me wasn't as interesting as the others, but of course the Kobe Bryant at the very start was very, very emotional, very, very special, because obviously this happened very recently, this interview. So it's good to see him speak highly of Michael Jordan and all of that. The whole Nike and Reebok situation, to me, it's very of the past, because I don't really necessarily know the situation behind that and how things worked back then, because I wasn't born. And then obviously you've got the political things, which I give my opinion on, where I don't know much about it. So yeah, so this episode, it was exciting, but I think episode 4 was better and all of them. But this was a fantastic episode to kind of lead into the future, because the playoffs, they're going to start talking about that 98 playoffs soon, and I'm really looking forward to that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Episode 6 will be coming shortly. I think it just come out right now around this time in Australia, so I'll be watching that and giving my review on it while I'm editing this. So hopefully everything goes well. I want to thank you all for watching this episode. Please like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, turn notifications on. This is the Sports Code. Have a wonderful day. Take care.